Good afternoon to the respected speaker, cautious timekeeper, honorable judge, members of the opposite team, and members of the floor. Before I put forward my case today, I would like to define today's motion. This House would abolish final research paper or scriptsy as a requirement for bachelor's degree completion. According to the Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English, abolish means to stop something that is happening. And scriptsy by Kamus Besar Bahasa Indonesia or KBBI is defined as a scientific paper that is required for students to write in order to complete their studies. In short, our motion today is defined as a proposition to highlight the importance of seeking alternatives for the completion of bachelor's degree in Indonesia instead of forcing all students to write a final research paper for their varying degrees. Today, I, as the Prime Minister, will be the first speaker of the government and will present our first argument. Today, the government strongly believes with the motion, this House would abolish the final research paper or scriptsy as a requirement for the completion of bachelor's degree. Ladies and gentlemen and members of the hall, we agree with this motion because we believe that a final research paper does not conclude nor represent the entirety of what an average undergraduate students, especially in Indonesia, studies during the 3 to 4 year period of pursuing their degree. Firstly, for an assignment or project model that is supposed to be applied by all students with no exceptions, a final research paper is evidently not comprehensive enough. And for example, degrees in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics or STEM are likely to be suitable for a research paper as a requirement for their completions. But surely there are a plethora of other degrees that are more practical, mostly do not make a good match with final research papers, such as film studies, fashion design, applied arts, and many more. Ask yourselves this. If a student is finishing his or her film degree, is it better for them to produce a short movie and directly engage in the process of filmmaking as their final project, or would a final research paper about some movies they exclusively watch only on screens still be a good option? The second point of our argument is this House would like to address the questionable functionality of a final research paper of undergraduate students. A final research paper, even just for bachelor degree level, involves the hard work of many parties, including lecturers and students themselves. However, contrary to the efforts being made, the majority of these papers are not utilizable unless they are approved to be submitted for scientific journals. If the paper remain mere papers, they are not qualified to be cited or referenced in other research, hence the question of its purpose emerges. On top of that, according to Director General of Higher Education, Professor Insinyur Nizam, the number of students who graduate from higher education institutions amounts to 1.8 million students. Contrasting prior numbers, the number of journals which were published in 2022 authored by undergraduate to PhD students, both English and non-English language journals, only reach roughly 50,000 journals according to what's rated. This statistics tells us that only a very small percentage of students' paper gets published as scientific journals, and the rest just sit on the database of their campuses with very strict and limited access indefinitely. As the questioning of the comprehensiveness and functionality of the bachelor's degree remain, this House will abolish the final research papers or scriptsy as the main requirement for bachelor's degree completion. Thank you very much.
Well, I, as the leader of opposition, disagree. Thesis shouldn't be abolished because it aims to train students' abilities to solve problems systematically using theories that they've learned in college, no matter what their major is. If they don't know what theory that they're using in their project or in real life, then what's the point in attending college for years? The thesis could be made after students have carried out a project, have done an internship, or just as simple as analyzing the situation around them. They could analyze what's wrong or what's missing from their project. Or, if they did an internship, they could analyze the problem that is happening in the company where the internship has taken place and help resolve the problem. So, it actually does conclude what an average undergraduate student in Indonesia studies in 3 to 4 years. Besides, it taught students how to write scientific papers, which is very different from writing about random stuff on social media and/or other platforms. Writing about scientific papers could lead them to develop critical and analytical thinking skills that are going to be useful when they are solving complex problems in the future. It also could be useful for them when they are going to apply for a job. For example, maybe for when they are going to make a CV, portfolio, or motivation letter. Yes, you can learn these things from the internet, but it will be easier if there is someone to guide you in real life, in this case a lecturer, in the process of making thesis or scientific papers. Lecturers will help guide the students so they know the purpose of their thesis and how to make thesis properly. Other than that, during the process of making thesis, students will meet a lot of new people and create new relationships that could be useful for them in the future, like for when they are looking for internship or even a job. And for the second point, if these theses are done properly and seriously by the students who are guided by their lecturers, it could be published as scientific journals. But even if these theses are not going to be approved to be submitted for scientific journals, it still could be used for the juniors' references. So, there is still some purpose in making scientific papers as the main requirement for bachelor's degree completion.
We disagree. If we are talking about problem solving, using theories can basically summarize if a student's whole experience in their 3 to 4 years of college is useless, that is certainly unfair. Not everyone is good at memorizing or implementing theories. If we judge students just based on their ability to write a research paper with theory in it, what about those who are majoring in media, art, etc., that their interest is far from learning about theories and making scientific papers? If we are looking forward to what usually happens in the future, when they get into a workplace, theories are not that important in the first place. Companies are searching for people that are passionate in what they're doing. Companies don't need people who are great in theory but they don't have any hard skills. It's about how well we can adapt in the workplace and do our job correctly or properly. Learning about writing scientific papers is indeed important, but it shouldn't be one of the biggest reasons why students have to do a final research paper as the main or the only requirement to get a bachelor degree. We should be more open-minded, especially in this generation, where we cannot judge whether someone is competent or not to graduate just from his or her final research paper. People are born in different ways. They're from different cultures. They like different things. So we should have more consideration and give more options to students to be able to maybe create something like a project or something that requires hard skills that they can implement in the future when they get into a workplace. Or if they want, they can make a final research paper as well. What we are trying to say here is that we cannot make final research paper or scriptsy to be the only way of judging or concluding if an undergraduate student is deserving enough to graduate after his or 3 to 4 years of studying in university.
As the beauty leader of oppositions, I would like to add some points to support what Rosa had said. Thesis is not only a way to train student skills, but also a way to measure their academic achievement and quality. Thesis is proof that students have mastered the knowledge and the methods of their field of study, and that they can apply them to real-world problems. Some might argue that a thesis is too difficult and demanding for students, and that it puts too much pressure and stress on them. However, this is not a valid reason to abolish thesis, but rather a motivation to improve the quality of education and guidance that students receive. Thesis is not a punishment, but a reward for students who have worked hard and learned well. Thesis is also a way to evaluate the students' performance and progress throughout their college years, and to give them feedback and suggestions for improvement. Thesis is not a burden, but a challenge and an opportunity for students to show their potential and creativity. Furthermore, a thesis is also a way to contribute to the development of science and society. Thesis is a source of new knowledge and innovation that can be useful for other researchers and practitioners in the same or related fields. Some might claim that the thesis is irrelevant and outdated, and that it does not reflect the current needs and trends of society. However, this is not a valid criticism, but rather a misunderstanding of the nature and purpose of the thesis. Thesis is not a copy of existing knowledge, but a creation of original and novel ideas. Thesis is not a repetition of old problems, but
on explorations of new solutions. Thesis is also a way to communicate and disseminate the findings and implications of student research to public. Thesis is not a waste of time, but a valuable and meaningful work that can make a difference and have an impact. Additionally, a thesis is also a way to enhance the student's personal and professional development. Thesis is a process of self-learning and self-improvement that can foster the student's critical thinking, problem solving, and communication skills. Some might contend that a thesis is too individualistic and is isolated, and that it does not prepare the students for the collaborative and dynamic nature of the workplace. However, this is not a valid objection, but rather a misconception of the scope and format of the thesis. Thesis is not a solitary and rigid task, but a collaborative and flexible project. Thesis is also a way to interact and cooperate with the supervisor, peers, and experts in the field. This is not a barrier, but a bridge that can connect the students with the academic and professional community.
As a member of government, agree that the final project, scripsi, or thesis at the higher education level should be abolished or rather adjust to the focus of each study program. Given that our country has a vision and goals toward the Golden Indonesia 2045, it's necessary to improve standards and accreditation, including in education. Indonesia needs quality higher education graduates who are expert in their fields and ready to enter the world of work. Currently, the quality of Indonesian education is still relatively low, as illustrated by the low scores of the program for international student assessment in reading, math, and science below 400 score. This shows that final research paper, scripsi, or thesis as the main requirement for bachelor's degree completion also does not guarantee graduates who are ready to enter the world of the work and professionals, but only the results of scientific work that can be applied directly. In addition, not all study programs or departments can measure students' competence from one final research paper, scripsi, or test alone. In this case, the Minister of Education are also concerned that in addition to the burden in terms of time, this can also hamper students and universities to be able to move widely and design learning processes and forms according to scientific and technological needs. Instead of undergraduate focusing on working on the final research paper, time and opportunities can be used to directly practice and enter the world of the work according to their respective majors by taking part in internship, creating research project whose result can be directly applied in the real world. We consider that the priority in education sector is directed at improving the quality of human resources, especially with the small number of undergraduate graduates in this country. According to data 2023, only 4.39%. The potential of human resource must be maximized in order to be competitive and adaptable. Therefore, the final research paper, scripsi, or thesis as the main requirement for completing a bachelor's degree no longer guarantees the quality of undergraduates, and we must improve the standards and accreditation.
Thank you. I stand here as the member of opposition. Thesis shouldn't to be abolished, even though a Minister of Education, Nadiem Makarim, in that has threat in making regulation related to future education plans in Indonesia. We strongly oppose this and urge in this regulation to be revised, considering well the final goals it. What do we want it be and will it be implemented? Moreover, in 2024, there will be change in leadership. The thing is that of the objective are less strengthened and less definite to the socialization, which seems to be rats. Then there was a speculation that the thesis was burdening students. We strongly believe that the students are required to think critically, scientifically, and skeptically. This is on the maturation process, how to understand things scientifically and other critical thinking process. This is necessary, so we emphasize that the regulations should be collaborated against so they would appear to be just policies. Following are some of the urgencies that reinforce why it is for important to carry out a thesis. First, a thesis is an important from the academic evaluation in higher education. The thesis allows students to develop research and analytical skill, as well as deepen their understanding of a particular topic. Second, the thesis also provide an opportunity for students to demonstrate their ability to write and communicate it effectively. This ability is very important in the world of work and everyday life. Third, a thesis can also contribute to research and scientific development. A good thesis can produce new findings and provide the insight of the particular topic. Therefore, eliminating this can good and reduce student contribution to the development of science. Thank you.
I stand here as the government whip to summarize and reinforce the compelling points made by the government team in support of the motion to abolish the final research paper as the main requirement for bachelor degree completion. Let's revisit the critical arguments raised by our team. Yola, as our Prime Minister, argued that a final researcher paper fails to encapsulate the entire undergraduate students' diverse experiences over a 3-4 years period. Notably, she emphasized the lack of universality in applying a research paper requirement to all degrees. Moreover, we delve into questioning the functionality of these papers. It's not merely a matter of effort, but the utility of these papers remains limited unless approved for scientific journals. The opposition state that final research paper can be useful for other researchers and practitioners, but in fact, this paper gonna stay in the database if they are not qualified to be cited or referenced in other research. We found out that there is only 50,000 from 1.8 million undergraduates to PhD students that are able to publish their final paper as scientific journals. Now, addressing the opposition point that writing scientific papers could lead them to develop critical and analytical thinking skills. While we appreciate the skills acquired, but we propose that these skills can be fostered through alternative means, such as projects and internships without the rigid requirement of traditional final research paper. So, we shouldn't solely rely on the final research paper to determine if an undergraduate student deserves to graduate after 3 or 4 years of study, because we are looking forward in the real-world job context where hard skills take precedence over theories in practical scenarios. As we consider the future of education, we need a system that is more adaptable, inclusive, and reflective of the diverse talents and paths of our students. We urge this esteemed House to recognize the need for reform and support the motion to abolish the final research paper as the main requirement for bachelor's degree completion. Thank you.
I'm as opposition whip. I dissent from the proposition put forth, endorsed by the debate initiator, who posited that the final research fails to encapsulate the entirety of a student's learning over 3 until 4 years of study. In our perspective, the final research serves as a comprehensive representation of the knowledge acquired throughout the academic journey. It is integral for bridging theoretical understanding with practical applications in the future. The need of theory before practical implementation is is evident, and the final research stands as a testament to a student's comprehension of their chosen field. This understanding becomes crucial for graduates to execute this role provisionally, aligning their work with the theoretical foundation and teaching imparted during their university education. In summary, the statement urges against abolishing the thesis requirement in education, highlighting its importance in teaching students how to write scientific papers, a skill valuable to future job application. The process of creating a thesis is seen as an opportunity for students to build relationship and network that can be beneficial in their future careers. The opposition, represented by GOFUR, expressed concern about the rush implementation of regulation and emphasized the need for a clear objective and well-defined goals. They argued that the thesis requirement play a crucial role in fostering critical thinking, scientific understanding, and overall maturation of students, urging a collaborative reconsideration of regulation to avoid appearing as mere policies.